Well, it makes a refreshing change that I can sit here this evening and not have too many on-field complaints after what was a very, very good performance from Manchester United today. But sadly, the off-field problems do continue to mount up with two new injury concerns over Tyrell Malacia and then a groin injury to Marcel Sabitzer in the warm-up. So more players potentially missing for the next couple of weeks, which is a major concern going into the quarter-final second leg against Sevilla, and then of course that FA Cup semi-final against Brighton. In terms of today though, what that injury meant was that we got Christian Eriksen into the midfield for Sabitzer, and then the goal scorer for the second goal in Diogo Dalot coming in at left-back. So thankfully, the injuries that we picked up over the last couple of days didn't affect us on the pitch, and potentially, if anything, secured us the win even more than if those two would have started. So at least in that regard, we did do very well, but it wasn't without their small problems. And I have to say, in the first couple of minutes of the match, it was a slight concern that firstly, Jadon Sancho misses a golden opportunity after just 30 seconds. And then Harry Maguire picked up a yellow card just 2 minutes into the game. And I was sitting there thinking, oh gosh, here we go once again in regards to missing chances and the defence being all over the place with Harry Maguire being back in the defence. And the problems didn't stop there in those first 15-20 minutes, because I think Nottingham Forest were very, very unlucky not to get a penalty. Now, under the rules, I think Harry Maguire should have been penalised for handball from that corner. It's not the sort of thing that I think should be a penalty. I think the rules should be a little bit more lenient to defenders. But under the laws, as they are in regards to handball, that ball has struck Harry Maguire on the arm outside of the silhouette with only other Manchester United players around him. So for me, that should have been a penalty. And that brings me to my other concern that I had in this game, which was, of course, once again, David De Gea. Because whilst everyone was again moaning about whether or not Harry Maguire should have been penalised and Nottingham Forest should have had a penalty, we have to ask the question once again of why David De Gea wasn't coming and dealing with that cross in the first place. And there were several occasions in that first half where Nottingham Forest piled bodies on top of David De Gea, and he can't deal with those situations. He's not physical enough. He's not confident enough to come and deal with high balls into the box. And it nearly cost us today. Couple of chances, obviously the handball incident. And then there was a header in the second half as well that only just got missed. I don't even know how he was able to miss it. It was only half a yard out and headed it over. So on another day, those things would have gone against us. However, apart from that, I thought it was an absolutely fantastic performance from nearly every single player on the pitch. In particularly, firstly, the two midfielders in terms of creativity in Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes. I know Bruno Fernandes got the actual man of the match, and, you know, rightfully so. He did play fantastically well. Nottingham Forest gave him far too much space. One of the biggest criticisms of Bruno this season is when the going gets tough, he starts getting petulant and throwing a strop, because when players get tight to him and start kicking him, he loses his focus on the actual game itself. And thankfully for him, Nottingham Forest gave him all the space of the midfield today, and that is why he was able to be so influential. However, I'm not going to give my man of the match to either of those two players. I'm actually going to give my man of the match performance to Victor Lindelof, who I thought, considering the fact that he's not really played any football since the World Cup, just due to the fact we've had Varane and Martinez available so often, and then for whatever reason, he's been playing Maguire or Luke Shaw at left centre-back if Martinez has been unavailable. I thought Victor Lindelof today was outstanding. It was his job to deal with Nottingham Forest's biggest threat, which is, of course, Brennan Johnson. And Brennan Johnson didn't get past him once. Victor Lindelof was absolutely fantastic. His marking, his covering, his tackling, and as we always know with Lindelof as well, when he gets on the ball, he's able to move out from defence and start creating the plays as well. And some of his passing into Eriksen or Fernandes or Casemiro, sometimes even long balls out to Sancho or Antony. I thought Victor Lindelof was absolutely outstanding today, and in my opinion, was the man of the match. Then we get on to the goals themselves, and thankfully, after some good hard work from Antony Martial, he was very impressive today for me as well. He charged down Nottingham Forest, who were being very sloppy on the ball, won the ball back, a brilliant reverse, from Bruno Fernandes back to Martial. I was a little bit disappointed Martial wasn't able to finish the chance himself. He's normally pretty ruthless in those situations. But thankfully, Antony was alive to the rebound to put the ball in the net. My only disappointment surrounding him today is that he didn't do that enough. He had plenty of opportunities when Sancho had it on the other side, or Bruno was putting in balls from the left-hand side. I just think Antony could have been a little bit more cutting edge, getting in at that back post on more occasions. And I think if he'd have done that, he could have found himself on the scoreline a couple more times today. But no real complaints about Antony today. And obviously, his contribution to the second goal is incredible. Picks the ball up out wide, skips through about 2 or 3 challenges. Phenomenal run from Dalot. He starts from basically at the halfway line, flies in from out of nowhere, perfectly weighted, perfectly timed pass from Antony, and a phenomenal finish from Diogo Dalot, which made it 2-0 to Manchester United. My only other disappointment, and it shouldn't really be sitting here talking about disappointments when we play so well, is that it probably should have been more. And there are 2 reasons for that. One, we weren't clinical enough, and obviously we spoke about Martial not scoring the chance when we did score. He had a header that he should have done better. We've already spoken about the amount of times Antony could have been in at the back post. Same applies to Sancho at the opposite side. He could have come in at the back post on a couple of occasions and wasn't there. Bruno had a couple of chances as well. One header right at the end of the first half that he put wide. But the other reason is because after Victor Lindelof, I think Keylor Navas deserved a shout for man of the match today as well. He was unbelievable in the Nottingham Forest goal, proving why he is still one of the world's best goalkeepers. It was bizarre when we all saw Nottingham Forest pick him up on deadline day, but he showed his qualities today. That save from Fernandes, well, both saves from Fernandes. Firstly, the driven high one from the short corner routine with Eriksen, where he absolutely nailed it towards the top corner. Brilliant save from Navas to tip it onto the crossbar. And then that second one, the low driven strike that's going perfectly in the bottom left-hand corner. Navas was able to get down and make the save there as well. So, like I say, I can't really complain too much about today's performances. There were a couple that still disappointed me slightly, like we spoke about. Maguire looked a bit dodgy at times. Sancho, I thought, was a little bit disappointing as well. He just, like I said against Sevilla, he just takes too long on the ball. I want him to just get his head up, play passes quickly, beat a man and just shoot, but he just seems to want to have too many touches before doing anything. And I think that's just a confidence issue, but he's going to see a lot more game time over the next few weeks with Rashford's injury still set to see him miss the next couple of games. And obviously Bruno suspended for the second leg against Sevilla. Could see Sancho move into the central part of the pitch, which I'd be interested to see. Potentially then with Weghorst up front and Martial out on the left. So plenty of opportunities for Sancho still to come. But like I say, other than that, brilliant performances all round. The midfield 3 was phenomenal. Eriksen, Bruno and Casemiro. And then, of course, the fullbacks as well, who absolutely deserve a mention. Wan-Bissaka, every time he puts on a Manchester United shirt at the moment, is an 8 or 9 out of 10 in my opinion. He just doesn't miss a tackle. We all know this. But he's improving on the ball as well. He was moving into that auxiliary fullback central midfielder position that you see that Manchester City players do today, and he was picking up the ball, he was taking on players, he was playing passes. Really, really impressed with his on the ball displays this year, Wan-Bissaka. And obviously we've spoken about Dalot, didn't put a fault wrong defensively at left back, and obviously was causing problems going forward and got his goal as well. So all in all, it's 3 points. It's a massive opportunity taken with Spurs and Newcastle both losing this weekend. We now go into an absolutely massive week for us. The second leg where we go 2-2 against Sevilla, where hopefully we will get the job done. And then, of course, we have the humongous FA Cup semi-final against Brighton. A repeat of the women's FA Cup semi-final, which we were able to win yesterday thanks to Rachel Williams. So hopefully we'll see a repeat performance against Brighton this weekend in the men's. Let me know, as always, your comments about today's performance and what you think is going to be happening in the upcoming week. Drop a like on the video if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I will be back on Tuesday morning with the return of Champions League predictions, so I'll see you then.